The whim of the Western Australian timber industry is a massive two-wheeled machine used to transport logs from the stump to the landing. It was so successful that it became the snigging machine of choice for 50 years in the forests of Western Australia from the 1900s to 1950. They were pulled by horse and bullock teams and later with tractors. The essential features of the whim are the 3-metre wheels, the arched axle, and a mechanism that uses the power of the team to load and then suspend the log in such a way that it becomes self-braking. The arched axle was made of steel or wood, supporting a heavy chain to suspend the log. The wheelwright's art was tested to the limit, wheels needing to withstand the strain of carrying logs weighing as much as 20 tonnes over rough, uneven ground. Loading the whim was done by pulling it backwards over the log with a couple of horses to a point where the axle is just to the rear of the centre of gravity, with the axle resting on the log. The heavy chain is then dug under the log and attached to the axle. The whole team is then attached to the pole by a chain through a pulley, and the team is moved forward. As the pole comes down, the log is lifted off the ground, slightly nose-heavy. The pole is then chained to the log, and the trace chains attached so that the team pulls on the log, not the whim. As the team moves forward, the nose of the log lifts, allowing the whim to move freely. When the team stops pulling, the nose drops, and the log digs into the ground and becomes a brake. Some whims are fitted with a brake to the wheels which can screw tight to slow the whim before, say, descending a steep hill. It was now the turn of the teamsters to show their skill. Manoeuvring a team of 8 to 15 horses or bullocks, pulling a 10 to 20 tonne load through the forest by voice alone, required a deep bond and understanding between the teamster and the leader of the team. From the 1940s, tractors replaced the teams, although the last horse team did not finally retire until 1952. But it wasn't always the best choice for snigging. When the ground became too boggy, it was replaced by the logging shoe that prevented the log from digging into the ground. Was the whim unique to Western Australia? While the whim appears to have existed at least in New South Wales, it was used in a completely different configuration. Here, 2 whims were used in conjunction to effectively form a wagon with an underslung load. It appears to have been used to cart logs along roads rather than for snigging in the bush. What was the origin of the whim? A popular story is that it originated from the 4-wheel jinker, which were in use until about 1910. These jinkers lifted the log with a ratchet windlass and fully suspended it. The story has it that the pole broke, and the teamster attached the log to the broken pole and found it worked as well. It seems more likely that it was in use in Europe from at least the 1850s, when this sketch appeared in a forestry manual in Germany, where it is known as a Rückwagen, in France as Le Trenkebal, in the Netherlands as a Malajon, and in England as a Jill. The steam hauler was a powerful steam-powered winch used for hauling logs from the tree stump to the bush landing. It was used in Victoria, Tasmania and Western Australia, where it was well suited to high-volume forest. There were approximately 10 steam haulers used in WA from the 1920s to the 1940s. Most were built locally at Miller's Timber and Trading Company workshop at Yarloop, but the vertical boilered Willamette haulers were imported from the United States. These powerful 400 horsepower winches could haul 25-tonne logs from as far as 1.5 kilometres through the forest, from the stump to the tramway landing, and required a team of 8 to 10 horses or bullocks just to pull out the heavy wire haul rope. The hauler was set up on a spur line and anchored to a tree. The heavy rope was then pulled out by the team to the log to be hauled. threading through the forest by a series of pulleys called snatch blocks attached to trees along the way. As the team approached each turning point, the snatch block was open to take the rope, and the team moved on to the next. When the log was reached, the rope was attached to the log and the haul began. The horse accompanying the team was used to pull out the shoe for setting under the nose of the log for hauling. As the log reached each snatch block, the pulley was opened to allow the log to pass. A thin rope attached to the whistle of the winch followed the path of the haul and was used by the whistle boy to signal to the hauler driver to stop or start the haul. At the tramway landing, the log was then loaded onto the log rake using a smaller steam winch mounted on another spur line. Although most haulers used a team to pull out the haul rope, the vertical boilered Willamette hauler had two winch drums, one with a light rope used to pull out the heavy haul rope in an endless loop. This method was used at Mornington and Ellis Creek, but the Ellis Creek hauler also differed in that it was mounted on skids rather than rail and could haul itself around the forest. This was a common method in some American states, but in WA it was only used at Ellis Creek. The only surviving steam hauler is the Willamette hauler preserved in the Manjimup Heritage Park. It was imported from the United States and used in Tasmania until it was sold to millers and used at Mornington and Jardee from 1925 to 1943.